Ladies and gentlemen, this is the 19th episode of Concerned Dabs podcast. Uh, I'm your host, Kady M. Kane. With me is my co-host, Will Terp.
What's good?
Okay, so we don't have a guest book tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Just gonna be Will and I for your listening pleasure.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
might be able to book a guest is in the fucking yellow jacket that just stung me about an hour ago.
Yeah, Will got stung in the face by a yellow jacket, folks.
In my
We're
own
telling to
house,
get some
nonetheless.
CB,
I'm
get
sure
some CBD salve on it.
people get stung out there every day, but just the disrespect
Yeah.
for it to happen behind my own doors.
Homies get stung every day, B. He'll be
Right,
alright.
right. I'll be good. I'll be good. If I can't see myself on my video things a bit laggy, but that's why if one side of my face looks a bit more balloonish than the other,
Word, word.
I'll be
All right,
alright.
Will. So, you've been back in Oregon for a few weeks. Um,
Yup.
Earlier before the show started, you were talking about all the awesome solventless options that are available on the shelf lately.
Yes, there's a bunch of them, and
You
more
wanna
people that came online recently too. Happy Cabbage is always good. I will be honest, they get a little confusing for me because they do so many different grade versions of like the same strain, which I feel like it's a
uh
little confusing and kind of like um, makes you question not how good a material they're using or but what really they consider to be ultra premium stuff that
yeah.
they're selling at the top end.
What
And
like
that because
do you notice a difference between the grades? Like, is there a difference in
I
taste
ha- I haven't
or
smoked
melt or something
enough
like that?
like at this. I haven't smoked enough side by side, so I haven't like picked up like a lower end grade and higher end grade, or like a middle end grade and higher end grades. I've only I've only picked up like one at a time, so it's hard for me to remember like what I had last and like how it would
Yeah.
compare. Um, but just like for example, in the last like I picked up a flavor last time. I already finished it, but it was the strain Double Tropicana,
Oh, word.
and it was double Tropicana hash rosin. And then I learned that Happy Cabbage also had double Tropicana hash rosin batter, which was a little bit more expensive. And then they had
Yeah.
double Tropicana hash rosin 6-star 90U, which was the most expensive.
Yeah.
And I just find it, to quote another like prominent solventless extractor in the rec game, I find it weird that you're grading your rosin from by the hash that the hash it was graded for. Like, so you're saying this is 6-star rosin because you pressed it from 6-star hash, but then again
Yeah.
it's undergoing another chemical change. You're adding heat and pressure, so you can't
Yeah.
just say that it's going to be of the same quality for sure in my mind.
Yeah, and man, dude, that's what I don't get. Like, cause when I remember hash and the way we make it, it's like you run it through the bags and then you press it into a cube, more or less. The whole
Yeah,
smashing it into rosin and the cake batter
yeah.
thing.
Well,
I'm like, man,
I will say I like this because I hear where you're coming from. Like the way hash was in the traditional days is like
yeah,
charis and like always a bowl topper,
and
or
the
like
dark,
you
cause
ball it up and put it in joint.
we would get blonde hash too, but the dark hash was better. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Gave it
totally.
better
And
high.
I will say it's definitely different and both have their place, like people who are used to that want to smoke hash that's more towards that. But I will say I do have appreciation for the high end of hash and rosin because here you are able to now, you gotta like wash really high quality material, but you're now
Yeah,
able to refine it so purely that you can literally just get the heads so that they melt and you still get the, or you're able to press it into a terpene rich uh you know solventless hash oil essentially that's very similar to BHO, but with no hydrocarbons used.
Yeah. Is that what the purpose of the batter stuff is to get it like sauce or whatever from BHO? Is that why
No,
they
so the batter personally, the batter for rosin is usually, so you wash it and then you obviously still add the heat and pressure from the initial squish from the turning it into rosin, and then
Mhm.
you kind of get it into, it'll pour out into a liquid or it might butter up immediately, and then especially when you do large batches for the rec market, you then put it in a jar and like throw it in the fridge and let it like butter up into like a crumbly texture and cold cure basically.
Ah,
And that's my preferred method because I feel like that's what's most true to the plant.
yeah.
But there's also another method which yields great, high terpene percentage and more shelf stability, which is the rosin jam, if you will. And that is still,
Yeah, dude, yeah. See, I
you're
like that
still
you're
taking
breaking this
high
down,
quality.
bro, because 'cause I'm clueless,
I'll
bro,
touch
like, yeah.
on how you achieve both. So like I said, batter is cold cure. You
Okay.
squish it, you get the initial heat and pressure, and then you throw it in the fridge or freezer and you let it like butter up and cure that way essentially. Jam, rosin jam, you still start with the high quality ice wax. You do the initial heat and pressure squish into rosin, and then you do a secondary process where you literally squish the rosin again. You add it back to a bag. You squish it at a very low temperature, much lower than what you squished it first, and basically turn it into a uh, basically sauce, rosin sauce that's, shelf stable. It's going to be still sauce at room temperature. And that has, has a higher, has a longer shelf, um, last longer on the shelf.
Shelf life, yeah.
But I don't think it tastes as good. You forfeit some of the terpenes in the addition of heat again.
Damn. So, like, what about all the fucking hash that was in the bag that got pressed, and they just saved the rosin that got pushed out that, like, nobody smokes, the shit that got smashed in the bag,
Well,
that's
no.
just
So
waste?
hopefully, like, I mean, if you're running high quality, like really high quality material, you won't really have stuff that's not worth squishing. But they'll use everything in the bag. I mean, I imagine like you'll still like with most rosin producers will have two grades.
Yeah.
Like
There's,
maybe
like,
for two
the shit
strains or maybe just for
like, the
for
shit that squished
how
out
how
and the
much
shit that
material they
stayed in the
had.
bag. Is that, like, the 2
Yeah,
grades?
yeah, it could be that, but I think it's a little more variable. Like it, it,
Okay.
it varies, depends. But
Because when I
yeah,
think
I
of rosin
mean,
too, I just remember these little pucks from a homie in Cascade Lock, and it looked like a little Carmex container lid or something, like a quarter shape,
yeah. So
and
it's a
that was it was, like, hard, you know what I mean? You could pull a piece
yeah.
off it, so I it doesn't seem like that's some ooze that got squished out between the plates.
No,
That seems like the shit that
no,
stayed in the plate, you know what I mean?
no. And also, well, here's the thing: rosin and your consistency is heavily fl- uh, fluctuant on the quality of the material you're squishing and the temperature. So once people realize like, hey, we can get similar yield and a lot terpier, a lot better looking stuff when we go lower with high quality, like
Yeah.
that shatter you're talking about, I feel like that was back in the early days, or like when people were just like the Oregon market was just discovering and other markets were just discovering rosin for the masses and they're squishing things at a higher temperature because you squish hash rosin at a higher temperature, it's going to be darker, it's going to be more shattery, it's going to come out like shatter.
Uh,
When you do it lower, like especially really high quality, like fresh frozen, it's going to be um, more like a wet batter.
okay.
And there's um, like there can be there's solid pucks, like butters that are like more solid,
Yeah.
and they're you could essentially break off pieces too because they're kind of like hard pieces of crumble.
Yeah.
But most rosin today, like high quality hash rosin, if you're pressing freshly washed fresh material is like going to be like a batter type consistency, like Echo electuary butter. It's going to be like soft, pliable, wet.
Yeah, that's the True Med AZ down the street. They're on like 40th and McDowell. Their Instagram feed is pretty cracking, and
Yeah,
they make batter with some of
yeah.
their
I mean,
material that they grow, and so I'm just like,
how
man, it looks white and it looks like pancake batter. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And
how
just threw it
how
up on
uh
the thing.
how nice, how good a quality is my video right now? Do you think if I pulled out, like, I got some hash rosin in my fridge right here? Do you think if I pulled out and tried to do a close up that people might be able to see the
Yeah, fuck
color or the
yeah, throw it
texture?
up there. Yeah, fuck
I'll give it
yeah.
a try. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah, man. The different consistencies confuse me too because I don't know how they were made. I'm just like, man, how the hell do you guys make this? Why does it look like this and not like regular hash?
All right. So this is Sunday Driver rosin batter.
I bought some of that weed before
Nice.
at
I don't know
it
how
was
well
on
people can
Burnside
see
and
this.
111.
Maybe if I put my phone light on it, but
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, it looks like some globs of dried up like cake batter or something.
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's very light colored. Yeah.
That was Bo's nose? Bo's nose?
Yeah, Bose knows they're new. Like I don't even know if they existed on the rec market. Like when I left Oregon back in March for a bit,
Yeah.
and now they're like very popular. But yeah, I mean the stuff I've tried from it has been fantastic, and they. I think they're newly licensed. They only work with organic farms, so they don't they're not going to fuck with you if you don't not growing organically.
That's
Um,
tight.
and yeah, from what I understand, it seems like I did a little bit of backtracking on the guy's Instagram account because I'm always curious, like where these, because sometimes these people that come out that kill it come out later, are like people that have been in the medical game for a while and are just like finally like, all right, I'll go legit, or I'll try
Yeah.
my luck at it. And he was a farm hand for Oso Verde Farms, like back when we carried them at Natural Wonders for a bit. And yeah, now he's doing his own thing, solventless, working with a bunch of farms. So yeah,
Hell yeah. That's
legit.
tight, man. It's dope to see guys come up too. Fuck, I wonder about it seems like it would be easier to get that license too, dude, because you don't have
Yeah, because you're not dealing with
a
like huge
dangerously
equipment.
explosive
It
and
absolutely
flammable
is.
lab or
No, very
anything.
good.
It's like we just got ice water. I mean, maybe for the dry ice, but can't you just keep that shit in a freezer or something?
Yep, very good point. And no, dude. I mean, most hash no hash maker really uses dry.
So
I
they
mean,
just use like a big meat freezer, like the one
so
you
no,
lift
yeah.
the
It's
top
so
off.
what it is they use normal ice, like clean. Though usually, if you're the best way to do is you got to have you want to have your own ice maker on site so that you can like fill bags like at your will and not have
Yeah,
to like go
man.
to the store and get ice or whatever.
Same thing for fishing, Will. Fucking need
Yeah,
ice.
yep, we need ice. But yeah, kind of had a brain fart. What was the point you were making, or you were
Oh, I was
saying?
asking about how like getting the license. Like that's is that the most costly thing is keeping shit frozen?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It's
Like, do
definitely
people have walk-in freezers or they have like the
yeah,
meat
okay, and
freezers?
that's what I
Yeah,
spaced on about the freeze drying part is how they're doing the freeze drying is they're not doing it with like dry ice, they're washing it with like regular ice, and then they're basically like scooping the heads that collect at the end of each bag, putting it on a tray, collecting it for each run in large batches for the same bags, and then throwing it in a freeze dryer that freeze
ah,
dries. It's like a vacuum freeze dryer. Yeah,
so
that they
they
then let
I
chill for
was
like a
think
week or so.
so I was thinking that they froze like the whole plant before they
They do.
put it in the
Everything's
water.
just like fresh frozen. That's the best way to go. So you like, you harvest it fresh. You snip off everything that's not frosty, and then and you throw it all, like the heads, the sugar leaves, in a bag, freeze it, and then when once it's frozen, it's ready to go wash. And then when you wash it like that, you get the heads that collect in the. You scoop it out with the spoon, put it onto the tray, and then you load it in the tray slots from the freeze dryer.
Word.
Yeah,
That's dope, man.
and that's just a rough explanation. I don't
Well,
process
no,
hash,
no,
so.
because to me, I mean, because to me, in my head, that still doesn't sound dangerous. You know what I
No, it's
mean?
not. No,
Like
that's my point. It's not.
you're not gonna
And
lose an eye
it
or an arm or something. You're
No,
not
and
gonna burn
I
your
feel like
hair off.
it's less costly too. I mean, it's still like obviously
Yeah,
you got to get the license, you got to get the
labor,
proper of that, but like you don't got to spend 20 thousands of hundred of thousands of dollars on equipment.
no doubt. That's dope, man. And um, just generally speaking, it seems like that's the high quality product too. Like everybody
Yeah,
more or less has kind of agreed that, hey, man, solving this shit is where it's at.
it is. It's only the thing that is and everyone has their preference, so this is no like I can see, like, I totally understand the argument for why people prefer BHO in any respect, like flavor, cost wise too. It's
Yeah,
much more cost effective. The live resins, people that process them correctly like Echo, you can get just premium flavors. uh, but what I have discovered with solventless is it is quite a bit more expensive. So I personally, I can't, I feel like a lot, it's tough to smoke unless, you you got a good job, you got a pretty good amount of money to yourself. It's
yeah,
tough to smoke. Like if you're a heavy smoker, it's tough to smoke it consistently if you're not producing it or like selling it. But
yeah.
it is to me a superior product to BHO just because I feel it encompasses the full spectrum high from flower that is missing in BHO.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. So labor, right, Will? It's labor intensive. That's why it costs more because
Yes. Yep.
don't have automated processes yet like they do in BHO.
Right. Yep.
Do you think that that is coming? Do you think that a guy could build a robot or at least a machine? Because we my cousin bought a hash machine before and it
Potentially.
broke after 10 hours, and we got another one, it broke after 10 hours, so it was just a piece of shit motor that they put in it, and it
Yeah.
would just move like a washing machine. Do guys do that, or do they do it by hand? Like, do guys have a motor
So
that's spinning
my
shit to pull the heads off when it's in the water? Have you seen that?
yes, both, and I've had very high quality hash from both methods, both the bubble machine spinning like a washer, spinning
Yeah,
back and forth, and then you collect it, and
yeah,
also the hand stir where you got like a large like trash bucket that you would think you'd put like grass clippings in or something, and then
yeah,
you fill that with your bag and ice. The best hash I've had has always come from hand stir in that method. The large bucket with the hand stirred like a fucking kayak
yeah,
or
yeah.
canoe oar that you're just working in there with the bag. That is always, and I'll give you just shout out some people who do that. That it's like some of my favorite hash. Kush Kirk, who's a medical producer in Southern Oregon. Not a lot of people know about him because I've been just lucky to have homies that have been good friends with him that have introduced me to his stuff. He's amazing. Pua Extraction. So if you like Nelson and Company hash rosin, which I don't know who doesn't, he washes everything by hand. My buddy Chris, damn it Bobby, who um, was most recently the like solventless processor for scored marijuana in Washington. He does everything by hand. And then also someone that I met while I was back east for a while, who's like very, very prominent in the East Coast industry and the solventless industry in particular. They have, I mean, they're medical and they have operations in Vermont,
Damn,
Mass, and Rhode Island, and they're usually just one dude that
that's
makes
tight.
that knows the method. But the guy I met was the Massachusetts one. They do everything like they wash by hand in large buckets. With that was the most expensive gram that I've bought
Yeah,
in the last. in the last probably like, God, maybe ever.
It
I
was
bought
like
like
80,
out
80
90,
bucks or
90,
what?
90 bucks.
Whoa,
Yeah.
that's
And it
expensive.
was, yeah. So here it was, I was like, I never come across that quality. I was at like a beer release out of state. Dude he's there and he's like, yeah. So it was like literally like it was GMO cookies, 90U. So, like the best pull
Real
from the
fine,
bag.
small
Rosin.
micron. Yeah.
Yep. And it was a perfect blonde coin. And it like you opened the jar and it smelled like you just ran over a skunk.
That's what
So I
you
was like, all right,
that's what you means
I
though,
need
right?
this.
Is micron. You means microns, right?
Yeah, micron. Yes.
Okay.
Um, so this I'm not too versed on, but like I know most bags nowadays, the prime micron is 90U, 90 micron.
Yeah,
But
well there's
also
like
there's other
there's
style
4 of
bags
them.
there's other
Yeah.
style bags that spit other microns as the premium micron, and it also depends on strain. So for example,
Yeah.
like Pua, I think he still probably uses these bags, and what he originally used was like bags that were like 70, 73U, and then 120. There was no 90, and his premium grade was like the 70, 73U. But it just depends on strain. For example, GMO cookies I hear spits at 180, which is usually like a meditable grade, like head status, because it's usually like in most strains it collects like very chlorophyll filled heads that don't make good rosin.
Yeah, still
In
kind of clean and
GMO,
shit.
that's the best micro, 180. So it really just depends by, I mean, and with these bags, and how well strains drop at certain microns depends on the size of the trichome head and the
Yeah,
stalk.
word. So like yeah, so a strain so cookies is probably has the smaller one, like the 90U is probably the best for a strain like cookies. Like something small and dense like
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that
I mean, it
has trichomes
depends.
that are
Yeah, but
smaller micron
cookies
size than
always hash as well. It's just now I think people are realizing just the better grown strain and the more pure the heads are, it's always it'll constantly. But there's definitely strains that don't drop as much or don't drop at all.
word. Hell yeah. Um Do you think that people in the future are going to be able to automate their processes in that game and still maintain quality? Or do you
Yes.
think, yeah? Because
Yeah.
it seems like that's why the shit is 90 bucks a gram because a guy was sitting there spinning it through a bag in a bucket of ice water. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
that takes time,
Well,
dude. It's like buying a
it's
painting from a guy, you know? It's like
yeah.
it's
I
super
mean,
detailed. He spent hours on that shit, man. That's why it costs so much, you know?
yeah. No, that's exactly why. And also, people realize that it's like kind of like when you do it right. It's I don't think this is up. I really don't think in chat. Like, no disrespect to like some of my favorite BHO producers that I'll always buy tons of grams from and smoke and produce.
Yeah.
Solventless rosin and like meltable 6-star is the bane of dabs to me. That is like the highest quality. That is like the caviar. That's the fine dining of dabs. It is the
No
most
doubt.
true to the plant. It is no solvents needed.
Yeah.
It's you get an insanely great effect and high from it. Um, but the fact of the matter is, it'll always be more expensive. It doesn't fit everyone's budget.
Yeah.
And it's always going to be a product that's going to need to be produced to almost like the highest level to get it to that point. Like you said, it's the reason it's so expensive is because, like, yeah, with BHO, like there's a lot of time that goes into the person who grew that material. You have all the you veg it, you flour it, you trim it, that you take care of it for months, and
Yeah.
then you hand it off to the processor, who then
Stuffs it in a column and
yeah,
runs.
stuffs it in a column, runs it. They do a good amount of work too. Not saying they don't do any work, but like
Yeah.
they stuff it in a column, recover it, do what they want to do to create the consistency, and then purge it. And then wait, and then they package it with rosin, and and hash, you're starting with the same. You need the utmost high. You need even like higher quality starting material than most BHO. So you need that, which is more rare, and then you wash it, and depending on if you're drying it, on a rack or freeze drying it, it needs to dry for about a week or so. Um, and then if you're squishing it into rosin, you collect all that. You then press it into rosin, and some producers like to let their rosin cure a bit, so it like Bo's knows, he likes to squish it all into one jar and let it cold cure for a week or two, or that, so it becomes buttery and like terpene rich and easier to work with. So
Yeah.
you're thinking about like from time, like if we're thinking just like handoff time, from like process or producer to processor, and when it could be ready for the shelf. With BHO, you're talking about, I mean, everything's on the mercy of testing and how quick labs can get shit back, but you're
That's
looking at like shit being ready for the lab a week or less.
yeah. I
With
remember
hash
guys.
rosin and
Yeah.
hash, it's like 2 weeks plus.
Yeah, I remember guys
So
coming in with shatter and fucking wax and stuff, and it was like that's what they were saying. It was a 72-hour purge, and I'm like, okay, so it's like 3 days,
it's
right?
3 days, and you had to flip it every 24 schools, so it's not like you were like constantly checking it to make sure everything was like drying properly or greasing together, or nothing was going wrong. But yeah.
Yeah, word, word up. Well, um, I remember last week you were talking about some of the rule changes in Oregon. Is there
Mhm.
anything that you didn't get to speak on? Like as far as like, is there any
um
differences as far as packaging? I think that was one of the things you said you had an issue with the POS system. It couldn't say LOQ or something, so you couldn't put
yeah,
the right
that was
label.
the issue with green bits, and it's still an issue. They haven't fixed it. So
Mm,
I don't know why that is taking so long, and that is a direct flaw of their system implemented, that is making people that use that not be able to be compliant on that notice. I'm still appalled that they're kind of taking that super nonchalantly. Like, I would almost feel like, I'm sure the state won't hand out fines that quickly, but if someone were to get like uh, fined for that, like, hey, this person bought a gram of Tropicana cookies from your store, and the CBD, if there's no CBD, it's supposed to say LOQ, but it says zero. We're charging you. It's like, well, then I literally can't print a compliant label through Green Bits at all.
yeah,
And I brought it up with them. I hit them in, like, oh, we're aware of it and making changes. And it's like, well, a week plus has gone by, and I surprised that there's that much of a relaxed nature by them, that is, they're directly prohibiting people from being completely compliant.
yeah, yeah. Is there anything else though, as far as products like the medibles potency requirements didn't change or anything? It's just
Medibles like tinctures, high potency tinctures had to go. They can't be um, as many like 2 ounces. They have to be like, for example, remember those 880? Were you around for those eight, like the big dose Davinols, or you heard of those?
nah,
Like the
no,
Okay,
yeah.
well,
Well,
he went all the way. He was able, for the rec market. He went all the way up to an 880 gram one. That was his highest one. It was 8 ounces, so it was
word,
roughly around 110 milligrams per ounce.
word.
Um, but they changed the laws on that, so now it's pretty savage. It's an 800 Davenol in 4 ounces. So
Oh
every
damn,
every ounce is 220 milligrams.
fuck.
Um, yeah, so
Cut it, cut
they
it.
changed the volume on that. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we got a question from Mitchell in production. Does the weed need to be tested before the rosin guy gets it, or does the rosin guy do the testing?
Both, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe. Um, and I could be wrong. I'm pretty sure. All right, that's a really good question, Mitch. but I'm pretty sure it's both. I'm pretty sure if you have a harvest, no matter what your intent on doing, on like whether you're going to sell it as flour, whether you're going to give it to a processor, that it
You
needs
still
to
have to get
be
it batch tested.
tested
Ah,
for pesticides because you can basically like pesticides, like you can have a flour that tests clean that shows up with like with um,
it,
exceeding like pesticide level that exceed the state requirement in extract form. Like you can go from like like a minute passing number of like trace ppms for one pesticide in flour, but once you concentrate it, it can exceed that limit.
yeah,
So they're definitely delicate about that. But yeah, you definitely have to get both tested. Now that I'm thinking about it, because you got to say the harvest law, you got to send it to the lab for testing, and then it's kind of like you decide, okay, what do I want to do with this? I want to get to process, and then you change the state, you change how much THC is in the product. You're concentrating it, so you definitely need to get it tested again.
yeah. Okay. So, is there anything else you want to add, Will, about the solventless stuff? I want to try and get your homie AO back on here. I see his IG feed. It looks like he's got some nice plants at his house that he's going to turn into hash.
Oh yeah, definitely about the hash. Yep. Yeah, I'm sure you'd be stoked to get back on.
Um, I'm gonna. So Mitchell emailed me a link to Normal. So shout out to Normal and their news links on their website. But I just wanted to talk to you about this, Will. That said that there's it in the news under studies. It says cannabis access is associated with fewer opioid overdoses. Um,
Absolutely.
and it says it's researchers associated with University of Massachusetts at Amherst and Colorado State University assess the relationship between the passage of statewide marijuana legalization laws and opioid overdose fatalities. They reported that the passage of recreational marijuana laws is associated with an estimated reduction in annual opioid mortality in the range of 20 to 35%, with particularly pronounced effects for synthetic cannabinoids.
That's what's up. And UMass Amherst was like we're super close to where I just was, my house, Western
Let's
Mass. It's
go.
like
Let's
30
go.
minutes. I've taken online. I took like when I was getting my degree in college, I took a like criminal justice class as a summer course there to get some extra credits. And it's
Word.
it's a cool school for sure. But yeah,
Hell yeah.
um, that
And
makes sense for sure. I mean,
I agree,
cannabis
man.
cannabis has um the ability to do that for sure, and that's also why I will always support products like this. Like people used to hate on Dirty Arms of Dabanol when it first came out because it was like people were like, oh, he's marketing it as like syrup and lean's not cool or that.
I'm
I'm
like,
like,
but
yeah, I think that's
it's
the point
medicine.
though. I think
Yeah.
that's the point. I think you say, you see this, which is like could be the first, reach for someone, and then you're like, hey, this shit is so strong and so potent that you're gonna get floored if you take a teaspoon of it, depending on your tolerance. So
Yeah.
I just feel like that having things that are so strong that they can mimic like people's desire to like 'cause, some people out there like there's always a guy that like likes to get like buzzed off opioids or like to maybe take a little bit to get on an edge, and then dudes that like to get or people that like to fucking take a ton and get like incapacitated.
Yeah. Yeah.
So having like a strong enough cannabis product which can, not mimic the high by any means, but provide like strong effects in a healthy alternative.
Yeah. And that's what I think they mean by synthetic cannabinoids, right? Is oil
Yeah,
or hash, right? That's
right.
some concentrates of some sort. Because
No,
that's
synthetic cannabinoids, no, because those aren't synthetic. Synthetic cannabinoids is in like K2 probably and spice
okay.
because those are causing death.
Okay.
Yeah.
Word. Okay. Um, says Illinois governor signs medical cannabis law. Yeah. So they took a poll. The poll says most Americans say marijuana should be legalized. Nearly 2/3 of Americans believe that marijuana ought to be legalized nationwide, according to the polling data compiled by Investors Business Daily and Technometrica Marketing Intelligence. Overall, 63% of respondents back legalization, a percentage that is consistent with other recent polls. 75% of self identified Democrats endorsed legalization, as did a majority, 66% of independent voters. A majority of Republicans did not support legalization. So that means like more than 50% of the Republicans didn't support, but enough of the
Of
independents
course,
did.
Republicans. Sorry to any Republican viewers we have, if any, but I don't really give a shit. It's a
Yeah.
podcast. We're allowed to express our opinion. But Republicans, in my mind, are not. I'm not saying Democrats or any party or any is any better at this point.
Yeah.
But Republicans, in
You
my
got
mind,
multiple
are only
parties, yeah.
interested in enjoying things that they take away and restrict for others.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, cool. I'm a Republican. I got my health care, but like, nah, fuck you. You can't have health care, no. And I get a say in it, because I don't think you're important enough to have health care. It's like, so any Republicans that are watching might want to tune out because I don't fucking respect you.
And
Your
then
whole mantra, if you're a diehard Republican, is literally enjoying things that you want to take away from other people or restrict from. That's what being a Republican is, in my
no
mind.
doubt. And then the last blurb says that nearly 1 in 4 Americans said that they or someone in their home had consumed cannabis for medical or recreational purposes over the past half year. And it says self-reported use was highest among those ages 25 to 44. So I think that's pretty cool too. Like it's accepted, like if more than half the people accept it, then it should be federally legalized because
Yeah,
there's two
absolutely.
people who run for president, and if one gets more than 50% of the vote, then they win. So, I mean,
Yep.
and this is just a poll. I think if it was on like a federal ballot, like if you could vote for president and vote for weed, I feel like everybody would vote for weed, you
Yep.
know? Yeah,
Absolutely. Just realize I need to take a damn dab.
no doubt. You fucking with that Bo's nose?
Yeah, and this one you would. I know you get down with this because you're a fan of the Sunrun stuff, but this is a collab with Eagle Green Farm. It's like an organic farm in Eagle Point, Oregon, I believe. Yeah, they do great work. Sun grown goodness, pretty much here. Some solventless sun grown
Tight.
goodness.
Sunshine in the bag. Okay, and
Yeah,
here's another one I got, Will. It says
what's
the
up?
American Bar, and these are all coming from normal folks, the normal website, so I got to make sure I attribute where I got this information from. It's not like I just
Yeah, do you just
generated
want me
this
to
out of nothing.
comment on them or
Yeah,
or,
yeah,
or
man.
what's up?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and it's real convenient too cuz it's only a couple paragraphs.
Yeah. By
The
the way, I dig
American
that shirt.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah, Stash Box. Shout out to Stash Box AZ, man. Miss G. Shout
That's
out to Miss G. The American Bar Association endorses ending marijuana prohibition. So, the American Bar Association is the test that you have to pass to become an attorney. You have to pass the bar exam.
hmm
Um, it says the American Bar Association has passed a resolution in support of ending federal marijuana prohibition and removing the substance from the Controlled Substances Act. In language that does not mince words, the proposal reads: Further resolved that the American Bar Association urges Congress to enact legislation to remove marijuana from Schedule 1 of the Controlled Substances Act. So I think that is pretty dope that it's got to be like a pretty big lobbying body for attorneys.
Yeah.
Those guys are sitting there fighting the cases on both sides, to either put this guy in jail, he had a pound of weed in his car, or hey, it's a plant, maybe we can give him treatment and some probation or something. Like there's guys on both sides that are doing that work, and now they're saying that, hey, this is a waste of our time.
Yeah.
We should be working on something else, not this, because this isn't really causing any problems.
Yeah. No, I would yeah, agree with that and say that yeah, there's no reason not to. I mean, this is for me, this is my opinion. It might be a little far fetched for some people, but like, and not that I'm condoning that you should smoke weed if you've been drinking or you're have it in you, because for a lot of people, myself included, depending on how many you've had or how much you're smoking, that's not a good combo. That can lead to the spins and not a good night ending. But I feel like in certain cases and with just cannabis in general, I've noticed like the bar culture now, not everyone, but like a lot of the bar culture is, people that also smoke that go in, get a few drinks and like, hey, let's step outside and like smoke a joint real quick or something, or, let's get,
That
let's do
guy.
an edible or something.
I'm that guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, same here. And I feel like that in some cases, in a lot of for people that if you're having a night out and drinking, that cannabis can kind of ground you and also make you realize, hey, like, well, now that I've got another substance in my body, I'm pretty messed up. I don't need to drink anymore.
Yeah.
Like and that's why I'm hesitant on saying it, because for some people it would like you being high would make you realize that you're too messed up to drink, and then you could be already messed up because you're now high and drunk. But for me, in some cases, I've smoked and I've realized like, hey, I'm like good on the drinks. Like that dab got me, or that hit got me. Now I'm really feeling everything. I'm good. I
Yep.
don't know. High
No
high
doubt.
thoughts.
Okay, so I got one more for you, Will. Since your magazine is in Washington, there's a report that says legal cannabis sales in Washington state are displacing the illicit market. It says adult use cannabis retailers in Washington sold an estimated 26 metric tons of cannabis and cannabis infused products between July 1st, 2016 and July 1st, 2017, according to a report by the Rand Corporation. It says the report prepared for the Washington State Liquor and Control Board determined that the licensed retail sales doubled from the prior year. Nearly 70% of all cannabis sales were for marijuana flower. Damn, that's crazy, dude.
That is
70% was just
crazy.
for flower. It says
Um,
wait,
and yeah, I can see
I
that
got
with
I
that.
got more, Will. I got more. It says
Okay.
comparing market sales data with self-reported data on marijuana use. Authors estimated in the third year after implementing a regulatory system for cannabis, between 40% and 60% of THC obtained by state residents was likely purchased in Washington state licensed stores. Marijuana not obtained via retail sales presumably came through the illicit market or from those authorized to grow for medicinal purposes. Commenting on the report, Normal State Policies Coordinator Carly Wolf suggested that various factors, including elevated tax rates and local moratoriums on cannabis retailers, play a role in the perpetuation of the illicit cannabis market. That said, it is encouraging to see that over time, licensed retail sales are gradually displacing a significant portion of the underground market. Moving forward, one would expect this trend to continue and for the illicit market to become further marginalized. And that quote at the end is from Carly Wolf from Normal. What do you think about that, Will?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Anytime you fucking like Washington, cannabis flower in Washington's dirt cheap.
Yeah.
Anytime you drive the market down to the point where you can get decent looking stuff. Hey, sorry, dog. Satchel. Shh. Where you can get decent looking stuff for 15 and 8, that's really gonna make people go, well, shit, my guy me 40 an eighth. It was better stuff, but now I can get a quarter for $10 less than I could get an eighth. And
Exactly.
the real heads, if you really like, if you smoke it for the quality and the the terpenes and that, most likely either you got one company you like from the Washington rec market, or my guess is you get it from your homie or your the black
Yeah.
market.
Yeah, man.
But like I said, I saw a meme earlier today from Matt Rise. It was like a customer and a bud tender behind the counter, and the customer asked, like, had a bubble, was like, "Hey, what's your favorite flower on the shelf right now?" And the bud tender's automatic response was, "Well, of course, our house brand OG." And then the bubble back, like the back of his head thoughts was black market. It's just like it was pretty funny.
My homie
Um,
down the street got that fire,
yeah,
man. For
yeah,
real.
exactly.
He's got game. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's a small room,
so
but he's got it, and it's better than this shit. But
yeah, and that's Washington, but yeah, so my view on that and opinion on that would be that's the case because they've driven it so far down. I mean, I
I
have a homie
agree.
that I go up to, and he doesn't even live. He lives in my neighborhood. He goes to Washington to buy all his weed because him and his wife, like, they smoke like a few blunts a night.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can get this, pretty good tasting, decent looking stuff. This is $30 a quarter. And
Damn.
I'm like, well, that there's, and I'm not saying it's good. I'm sure it doesn't taste as good or that, but like look wise, I'm like, damn, this is, this is what would be potentially a $30 eighth on Oregon shelves. And
Yeah.
it's just like Washington has completely gone with this. They driving down the price and just like this, like, well, how much can you produce under this many lights?
Yeah. I feel like that's happening in Oregon too, dude. There's a huge surplus. Like
No, though.
a lot of talented growers did not
Uh-uh.
go wreck. You know what I mean?
Though. That was the case, John. That's why you need to come back too. There's a shortage right now in
No
Oregon.
way.
Yeah, there's a shortage. Processors are begging people for material. They're offering to buy it for ridiculous prices. There's not enough material to go around. Like a lot of processors, like it's shifted for now. It's completely a producer's market. I mean, there is shortages.
Well, but so it's just what about all the old weed? The old weed just isn't selling for
It's
cheap or
done.
what?
It's gone. People process it. People consume it or
Turned
that.
into
I'm sure the
distillate?
less is harvest season is coming up, so there'll be less of a shortage. But I mean, you said, John, you're saying, when should I come back? There's a shortage in Oregon right now. Shortage.
Word.
Guarantee you.
Well, when we had Pig Farmer on here, bro, and he was talking about his homie who had the micro tier, and it was like he lets him go for a 10 pack for 9, and
Hmm.
he still cleared like 6 figures in a year, and I think he had
Hmm.
one or two guys on staff. I'm like, fuck,
Yep.
that gives me
Flower
hope.
prices are going back up too. That's the real telltale. How you know it's happening. There's a shortage, and it's going as flower prices are on the rise again.
Word. That's what's up, dude. Well,
Yeah, I mean that's good. Not that's that's a win-win for everyone when prices go up. That means people are willing to spend more money. Growers can make more. Retailers can potentially make more.
yeah, it makes me want to throw up a light. I was moving around my furniture today, see if I could
Yeah,
make
dude,
space for
throw
a
up.
tent.
Don't just throw up a light. Throw up a few.
Well, I've got a small apartment, but if I come back to Oregon, dude, like I got to get a job that's dope and then
Yeah.
figure out a space.
You
But
know what I always thought was like like obviously if I'm bigger, the bigger, like, more space to do it, I'd probably do more lights. But to me, like an 8 light grow always seemed like super appealing. Seems
yeah,
small enough, but like enough so you get like 4 HPS on one side, 4 on the other, or whatever.
yep, yep, and affordable to maintain too with just one
Yes.
guy. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
Anything more than that, you got to get some help. and it's
Yep.
fuck. It's hard finding good help these days, Will.
It is, man. It's tough. It's tough that it sucks that things cost so much money too. It's like I know people like you, like they got good game, and like you did the whole, you had your own property and outdoor, but it's like, man, I bet you could also do your thing indoor too. Given the chance or given like your
Oh
own
yeah,
spot. It's
yeah,
just like
man,
I don't
yeah, man.
know. It's like I feel like I could do a good job too, but it's just like not as good as you, obviously. But I don't know. Just sucks that like everything in life is so expensive, but just like even think about getting like something that you could like perpetuate or have like consistent harvest going in costs at least starting in 2 grand.
No doubt.
But
Yeah,
so you got
man.
to spend money to make money, right?
Yeah, because I feel like two for an indoor pound is somewhat fair. You know what I mean?
That's what people are getting now, plus and
Yeah,
more too.
when it started getting down to like 16, 15, 14, I was like, "Damn, that's cheap." And then right before I moved, people were even doing them at 12. I was like,
Yeah.
"Fuck, that's
Yep.
cheap, man." And I don't know. It's good to see shit kind of stabilize a little bit cuz that's why I left, bro. I was like, "Man, 2017, I'm like I need more than that for these, man, you know?"
Yeah.
And I just I did what I had to do and I bailed, you know?
Yeah. So, John, I got a question for you, kind of tracking back to the solventless question. But did you ever see like what brands were, if any, were pretty well known in Arizona that people liked for solventless? Were there a few? Was there any like producing like real top quality shit or no?
Nah, dude, that just I haven't been to a store in probably 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
But the True Med AZ, dude, like their Instagram feed, like they show them whipping up the batter, and I think it was something chemi, like GMO cookies or something like that.
Didn't like rosin batter, like solventless.
Yeah, and it was
Damn.
white, dude, and he was sitting there stirring it in the jar, and I'm like, damn, I gotta
Well,
stop by
that
there.
looks, yeah, that sounds fire.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure they were in-house dudes. Because
Yeah.
every time you drive by there, bro, it fucking reeks, Will. I'm like, yeah,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
like that. And I think I told you the story. I went to a place out in Mesa. I can't remember the name of it, but they had like 11 or 12 strains on the shelf, and I looked around. I just told the guy like, "I'm sorry, man. I don't do this often, but I gotta fucking walk out. You guys don't really have
Yeah.
anything on the fucking shelf." And he grabbed a post-it note and wrote down True Med AZ and handed
Yeah.
it to me. And he's like, "Get
And,
these guys out." I'm like, "All right."
yeah, and let me use this too on an off subject as a public service announcement. I've seen a lot of growers, prominent people use this. GMO does not stand for garlic, mushroom, onion. No, no, that is not what it stands for. If you abbreviate as that, stop now. No, from the breeder. He's like, I can't, I'll bring it, I'll get the full story next episode, but there's a story behind why he called it GMO, and it's not much of a story because it was never meant to be garlic, mushroom, onion. I think he was abbreviating it for something else, but I just find it funny that people like, people hear a story and they run with it because they like it, before they actually double check the accuracy of it. It's like, yeah, GMO because it's so funky. It must be, stand for a mixture of garlic, mushroom, and onion because that sounds raunchy. No,
Yeah,
it couldn't have like less to do with that.
no doubt, no doubt. Um,
Yeah, that's all I had. You got anything else?
I'm trying to see if I got one more story here. Um,
I got a question.
okay.
What's AZ? They didn't pass last time. Is there like a big movement for it? Is it on the ballot coming
Yeah,
up
yeah,
or?
shit. That's one thing I wanted to talk about too, dude. I don't have the whole breakdown of it, but it is gonna be. So the Attorney General of Arizona put out a letter, um, really urging the state legislature to make it recreational on their own.
Hmm.
You're just like, hey, you guys need to just do this and quit dragging your feet, because it's gonna happen anyway, and you might as well have some kind of control over it.
Right.
Um, and since the state legislature is probably not gonna do it, it is on the ballot for 2020. And I know that written into the language of the bill that is on the ballot, it says you can have six plants, Will. Six plants on the way the language is written on on this ballot.
Mm,
So, for rec use, anybody's
six
21
plants.
can have
That's
six
not very.
plants at it.
That's like as in per person, so more than
Ye-
Oregon.
Yeah, yeah, two
That's
more plants
cool.
than Oregon. Yeah, dude. So I just read that and decided that I was gonna vote yes and tell everybody else to vote yes too.
Yep. Home grow.
Um,
That's
yeah,
important as fuck.
yeah, exactly, dude. And I feel like that hopefully that'll change the game down here a little bit. And
Yeah.
I really do want to get into breeding too, Will, because there's
Yeah.
a
But you
couple
also
of
got to make
things.
sure with that too is that if it's home grow, that they're not like, oh, well, yeah, you guys can home grow for yourself and gift, but if anything wants to be sold or legit through a dispensary, you got to have money,
Yeah. Yeah,
tons of
it's
money, you
kind of
know.
like that already with the medical thing.
Yeah. So I'd imagine, yeah, try and keep that the same way.
Yeah. Um there were some people complaining about in the language. It didn't say there was going to be a limit on the medible potency. So people
Mhm.
were I'm like, "Why the fuck would you complain about that?" Like, that was when it first went rec in Oregon. I remember rec patients could only get 15 milligrams
Yep.
in a medible, and so it's like, that is nothing. That's like a fucking knife hit of weed, you know what I mean? Like, that's eating that is not gonna do shit. So, it was weird to me that people were complaining about that, but it's a red state, man. It's a strange place, Will. It's
Yeah.
a lot stranger than Oregon was to a guy like me. I don't know.
Totally.
That's why I miss Oregon, bro. Like, it's cool down here, but I just like
Yeah.
being around some weed nerds and just having access to more shit, dude. Like,
Yeah. I feel you. I feel you.
Arizona rec,
Word.
Arizona rec weed law language.
I gotta
Yeah,
get going here in the next 5 minutes or so. So if you got something else from me, let me know.
yeah, that's pretty much all I got, Will. It would take me too long to read all of this shit. It's a pretty big file.
Hell,
But
I
six
thought
plants. It's going to be on the ballot in Arizona in 2020, and it
six
says that
plants.
you can home grow six plants for.
I'm in support of that. Like you said,
Yeah, me too,
the
dude.
home grow in general. Like it's gotta
Yeah,
be it's gotta be an option
no
always.
doubt. I agree. That's pretty much an hour right there too, Will. So
Sweet.
good job on hipping us to the solventless extraction methods, man.
Yeah, I mean it's great. No, I could talk about dabs like that for days. So
Yeah,
yeah.
if you can holler at one of your homies who makes it, maybe we can get them on the show next week or 2
Yeah,
weeks out
yeah.
or something.
Anthony again, maybe. It's always very interesting to me. So we can, many, basically a lot of the titles we've done, I feel like we could have follow up episodes or people back or different people. There's a lot more to touch on with what we've been covering, but yeah, I'd love to try and maybe I want to try and get Bo's nose on. I'll see what put some feelers out there for that.
No doubt. No doubt. Good luck, Will. Good luck. So I guess that's the episode, folks. I'm gonna go ahead and do my outro dance. This was the 19th episode of Concerned Dabs podcast. I was your host, Kady M. Kane. With me was my co-host, Will Terps. I gotta give a shout out to my guys in production, Mitchell Wilson and Jesse Curry. This has been a Main Node and Joseph Street Enterprise production.